Hey, how are you? This is Rich from Tennessee Homestead. Well, I'm not really making a chick flick here, folks, honest. I just wanted to show you the results of my mistake. Right here, you're looking at the end product of a hatch that I probably should not have even attempted because I knew that the eggs were way too old. Got busy, had other things going, and well, we lost a lot of eggs. And the saddest part was some of the chicks there at the end of the hatch, they apparently had problems and never could completely get out of their shells. And you hate seeing that. You know, while it does happen, you sit back and go, boy, what, you know, if I'd have done it right, that would have turned out differently. But anyway, these guys are fine. They're healthy. They're doing well. They're in a state of panic right now because I'm standing over them with a camera. All right, keepers, settle down. Ain't nobody gonna bother you. At least till later today, you get to make the transition into the big brooder. Yeah. You have some leg room, run around and play. Anyway, this is all that was left out of, I believe there was 36 eggs went into that incubator, and this is all that came out of it. But we're happy for what we got. This is kind of our interim brooder that we set up with a little tote next to the incubator so that as chicks dry out, we can remove them from the incubator and go ahead and put them over here and get them on food and water. And then we'll leave them in here for a few days, usually no more than about 3 days. And then we move them into the barn into a bigger brooder set up so that they got some leg room. And that's where these guys are getting ready to go. So that is the story of that hatching. We've got another group of eggs that I started collecting whenever I started this little batch. I started watching for chicks, or the chickens that was laying. And then, I guess probably 5 days ago, I started collecting eggs for this new batch. This will probably be the last ones we run through this year, depending on what demand we get for them. But anyway, these guys are doing good. They're healthy. Haven't had any issues with them. They're just starting to get to that. We're really getting stinky age. So it's time to get about to where they got more space, because right now they're a little crammed in. Over here, let me show you this little one down in here. Kind of zoom in just a little bit on it. This little chick here is the one that got its leg caught. And, you know, probably wasn't an accurate description when I said that her leg got broken. I guess a better description of that would have been her leg was all but severed. It was just barely hanging on with a little piece of flesh. We did splint it, and after a couple of weeks, we found out that, yeah, indeed, the leg had set, but in the wound where it had been cut by the turner, she had an infection setting on the foot. We noticed that yesterday, and started the procedure of doctoring it. You know, started off with one, taking off the old bandage, peroxiding it, putting on some cream antibiotic on the leg. But because you could actually hold this little chick in your hand and tell that its body temperature was just way, way too high, we could tell it was that infection apparently had given it quite a fever. So, and the foot was swollen up to where it didn't even look like a chicken's foot. which was a good sign. At least it tells me it wasn't dead. So anyway, this is as frequently as you hear me say, don't give animals drugs. This is the one time, folks, when you have to step up to the plate and give that little animal a little antibiotic to help fight off an infection. Gave her a little antibiotic last night. Today, the swelling of the foot is way down. The foot looks pretty good, as a matter of fact. And she's actually beginning to curl the toes and so forth on it, which tells me that, the break and so forth is healed pretty good. I don't know that she'll ever be 100% with it, but it looks like she's going to have enough use to get out there and be able to hunt and peck and do what she needs to do. And her body temperature's back down. So she's back into the house again, being doctored. She had been doing real good out in that brooder until that infection set in. But, yeah, kind of one of those things. This little bird is doing okay now. She, like I said, she's sleeping a lot. Of course, when you got an infection like that and so forth, you're going to end up doing that. But she has been up, she's eating, she's drinking, so we have a lot of hopes for this little one to make a full recovery to some degree and get her moved back into the with the other birds. So anyway, that's her little story, and we're kind of pleased at her comeback. This little one's a fighter now, let me tell you. This bird's been through a lot, and I talk about not having any retirement birds on the property. This girl may turn up to be the exception. I don't know that with all the battles she's had in her little life that I would ever cull her out for lack of production. So, matter of fact, we're planning on tagging her so that we can always, know exactly who she is, no matter how many birds she's in with. Because this one here, I think, is going to be given the option of a long life here on the farm. Because heaven only knows, she has had a struggle so far. But we're real happy with her progress. The antibiotics seem to help her. Swelling's down. And man, is she getting used to being handled and actually is starting to enjoy it. She'll lay on her back in the palm of your hand and just relax, take life easy. So, she's a cute little thing. Anyway, that's the story. This is turning into a success story. Sad to say that that hatching there was pathetic, and I wished I had some other reason to blame other than Rich's stupidity. I knew those eggs were too old. I probably should have discarded them. But then there's also a part of me that looks at these little guys here, and they're sweet, and they're healthy, and it's like, well, if you'd have discarded that batch of eggs, these little peepers wouldn't be here with you today either. So maybe there's a rhyme to the reason, They're here, they're doing well. I think we got about 6 little lavenders and a couple of buffs, and one buff and one buff mix, and one black copper moran out of the bunch, and a couple australops, and yeah. So I guess it wasn't a total failure, but yeah, it was stupid, folks. I always prefer collecting eggs for a hatch about 5 days in advance of starting the incubation. To be quite honest with you, that's where I'm going to start setting my benchmark, is at about 5 days. 10 days is the absolute limit. If the eggs are 10 days old, you're going to have a poor hatch rate. And as I've seen, when they hit the 12 to 15 day old bracket, you're going to have a pathetic hatch rate. So try to keep that in mind. Hopefully learn from my little mistake here and not do the same thing. Sometimes you get busy, folks, and try to take a shortcut. And, you know, I've always heard that there's no shortcuts to any place worth going. So try to keep that in mind. But, you know, like I said, we got a few little ones out of it. And they're happy, they're healthy, and they're doing good. So I'm well pleased with it. And then I got my little trooper down here who has just been through a lot, and but she seems to be recovering. And at least she's using the leg and has the use of the toes. That's what really surprised me, because like I said, folks, that leg was, you know, really severed. There was just a little bit of flesh holding it in place when we first doctored her. And other than that infection, I think she'd have been just up and around and doing great on her by now, but that infection set in and it kind of set her back a little bit. Anyway, enough of all that. This is Rich from Tennessee Homestead. I hope this finds you having an absolutely great day, and maybe you learned a little something from my stupidity. That is, you know, kind of stick by the rules. Don't let your eggs get too old sitting on the shelf waiting to be incubated. It'll lead to disaster. Alrighty, you folks have a really great day, and we'll talk to you later.